Cathaoirleach, I welcome the opportunity to contribute to this really important debate about the credit union movement, and I've had an opportunity to listen to people on all sides of the House, and I'm somewhat perplexed as to why the government parties are actually dividing the House tonight. My understanding is that they intend to call a vote against the motion we've put down, which beggars belief on the basis of the contributions that have made. So hopefully we'll see people break ranks with the government tonight and support the Fianna Fáil motion. The credit union movement, in my view, is and has been an enormous enabler to hundreds of thousands of families. Its reach and impact is truly immeasurable. There's scarcely a family across the state that hasn't had recourse to the support of credit unions, whether it's sending children back to school, teenagers to college, burials, christenings, weddings, unexpected illnesses in the family, weddings. So from crisis to celebration, the credit union movement has been there to support communities and societies generally. The credit union exists solely for the purpose and the benefit of supporting its members. Juxtapose that with the commercial financial institutions, who instinctively are there principally for the purpose of supporting and benefiting their shareholder, where profit and return on investment are the key words, whereas with the credit union, it's not for profit, and indeed the key drivers are serving its members and the provision of an appropriate structure to assist their communities. It's not an exclusive club. Anybody can join. We've come through, without a doubt, the biggest financial crisis in the history of the state. Commercial banks were decimated. By and large, the credit union movement survived that entire period, with a couple of notable exceptions. But in general, because of the management structures that were in place, as Deputy Spring had said, key focus locally, with appropriate risk assessment and prudent lending and solid investments, they survived and are in a healthy position. And we know the size of the potential that exists in terms of their loan versus their reserves, 11 billion versus whatever it is, 3 billion that's on lending. So let's not fool ourselves here. The credit union cannot stand still. It is in a competitive environment, and it needs to serve the changing needs of its members. Lifestyles have changed, people's expectations, demands and needs change, and that happens, you know, as you move through the generations. So the credit union can't be just restricted with all the regulations that are set out, with no potential to grow and broaden its range of services and investments. So it requires the support of the legislature and the executive to get behind it. There's less competition in the marketplace now. We know the way banks are trying to repair their balance sheets, and you know, we all recognise that that has to be done and it's important. But by and large, the credit unions are taking up the slack, and they're helping people who really need their help to the greatest extent possible. And their reach now can be greater, particularly because of the lack of competition that exists. So what's needed is, as well as the regulation, they need new lending opportunities and new investment opportunities. You only have to go back. The crux of this debate here tonight is the necessity to give full recognition to the Commission on Credit Unions as established in 2012. The credit union movement got behind that, they fed into it, and they support all aspects of it. But the government intend to deliver it piecemeal. All the restrictions, none of the potential for growth. There's an entire lack of a strategy by this government for the potential to grow the credit unions, restricting it absolutely. And if I think I have about a minute left, what I would conclude by saying that I had just an opportunity before I left my office earlier to put up on Facebook that I was coming down to the chamber to address this particular issue. I had a flood of responses in, and there's one which is worth reading, and I won't quote the name, but Timmy, I thought the credit unions were owned by the members. It always helps for the little things that arise, such as children returning to school, college fees, and maybe the odd home improvement. The banks won't entertain the smaller person for loans to do such things. So where are they to go? Is it the money lenders? This government wants them to go. And as for the education, do they want the ordinary man or woman to allow their children the opportunity to attend university? This government is a disgrace, and that's the end of the quotation. So, Minister, I would appeal to you to set aside the politics here, accept the motion that's put forward, and support the credit unions. And you're not supporting the institution that is the credit unions. You're supporting the people throughout this country whose lives, the lives of their children and their communities, depend absolutely on a vibrant credit union movement that needs to grow and meet the demands and needs of society. And in doing so, you put in place a structure that has proven that it can withstand the kind of financial disaster that we have come through. And I would appeal to you, Minister, to talk to the whip on your side and don't divide the House tonight. It seems ridiculous, because what it's saying is that the people in this chamber are out of touch with the reality that many people face on the ground on a daily basis.
Thank you, Deputy Dooley.